how to stop overthinking and overanalyzing. In this video, I'm going to share with you some very practical steps on how you can break that cycle of overthinking, overanalyzing every decision or every decision you want to make for somebody else. How do you stop that overthinking process before it takes over? The essence of what overthinking is like this. When you overthink something, you are either thinking about a thing too much or you're thinking about it too long. That is the classical symptoms of overthinking. But when it comes to overthinking, what we're actually doing, how it presents itself, is that, for example, we could be thinking about every options that are available to us. And for each option, we're thinking about all the different scenarios. We're thinking about all the pros and cons. We're thinking about how this each plays out. And so that is a classical symptom of overthinking. That's how it presents itself. But the question is, if you want to stop overthinking and if you want to stop overanalyzing, it's important that before you can stop doing something, we must first understand the reasons why we are doing that thing. It's just like I mentioned in my previous video on how to stop procrastinating. If you want to stop procrastinating, you have to understand your reasons for procrastinating. So if you want to watch that video, if you haven't yet already, just click here and watch that video on procrastination. In this video, first of all, I want to share with you the reasons why we overthink, the reasons why people tend to overanalyze. And when you understand the real reasons why, then you can really get at the root of it and stop the overthinking. What if I told you that overthinking is not a problem? And overanalyzing is not a problem. Those things are not a problem. They are simply a habit, right? If you are struggling with constantly overthinking, you have a habit. You could have a habit of constantly thinking through all the scenarios. Maybe it is a habit of constantly ruminating about the past. Maybe it is a habit of constantly asking yourself all the what if questions. Those things are habits. They are not a problem. There's a difference between a habit and a problem. And since it is a habit, it is something that can get undone because we were never born with these habits. We aren't born with habits. We're born with instincts, and we develop habits through our life experiences. We develop habits through fears and anxieties, and those become our habits, right? And so the reason why you have these habits is because of beliefs that you have. Tony Robbins said that whatever you hold in your mind on a consistent basis will create the exact experience in your life. Now, Dr. Grace Lee says, I say that whatever belief that you hold on to, that belief will create and take over your thought processes and take over your actions, no matter how harmful it is to you. So the reasons why we overthink, the reason why we overanalyze is because we have these three particular beliefs that we're holding on to that are keeping us stuck in that habit of overthinking, the habit of always asking what ifs, needing to go through all the different scenarios, ruminate on the past. Those things are habits, and there's three beliefs that hold us there. So what I want to share with you are the three beliefs that are keeping us stuck in overthinking. If you have a pen and paper handy, I encourage you to write this down and really reflect upon these three beliefs. Right? Belief number one, the belief that procrastination is prudent. Right? We believe that overthinking is prudent because we believe that in our identity, like for example, I am a scientist, that is my job to analyze, or I am prudent, right? I want to make sure I make the right choices. I want to make sure that I am committed to my choices. So therefore, I'm doing the right thing. This is prudent of me. So the belief that it is prudent keeps us stuck in this overanalyzing habit. That's the first belief. The second belief is that belief that overthinking is protective. Right? And then this is when we believe that when we overthink things, when we think through all the different scenarios, ask all the what if questions, when we do all the rumination, it's going to protect us from the harm of making the wrong choice. And so therefore we get to avoid the pitfalls of making a wrong decision or the pitfalls of not knowing exactly what could possibly happen. But the problem with that belief is that we don't know whether or not it's going to happen, and the opposite outcome could be equally as possible. And so that's the second belief, is that the belief of overthinking being protective. The third belief that keeps us stuck is the belief that overthinking is preventative. And this is where we believe that when we overthink, when we overanalyze, and we go through all the different scenarios, that is what we can prevent ourselves from the suffering that comes from making the wrong decision. We can prevent that suffering, the unnecessary suffering. And so these three beliefs, when taken together, the belief that overthinking is prudent, the belief that it is protective, the belief that it is preventative. When all of these things are taken together, these beliefs stack upon each other and they reinforce the habit of overthinking. So with these three beliefs that we hold on to so dearly, it creates the actions and our experience in life, as I shared with you earlier. And what happens is that then we run into this situation where we want to make a decision, and then we justify to ourselves that, oh, we're just being prudent. We justify to ourselves that, oh, this is the right thing to do. I want to avoid making the wrong decision. I don't want to suffer from if I made a wrong decision. So I got to ask myself all these what ifs. I'm just being prudent. So we make that justification. And what happens is that we keep justifying to ourselves that this is the right thing to do. And we keep falling right back into the habit of overthinking. And we keep falling right back into the habit of ruminating, and it's not serving us. It creates greater stress. It creates analysis paralysis. And so if that is what you have been suffering from, and you're real with yourself that, yeah, I tend to do that, that is my habit, that's my pattern, then I want to ask you, I want to challenge you, what has it cost you? What has the analysis paralysis cost you in terms of your career growth? What does it cost you in terms of achieving the things you truly desire that are meaningful to you in life? What does it cost you in terms of your personal growth, your confidence, your relationships with other people, your relationships with colleagues, your relationships in your previous work experience? What has it really cost you to have this habit for maybe years in terms of overthinking and overanalyzing? And the second question that I encourage you to think about then is, how else does this show up in other arenas of your life? Because chances are, if you overthink in your career, then where else is it showing up in your life? Where else are you constantly overthinking, ruminating, asking what if, and what has that caused you? What opportunities have you missed out as a result of overthinking? Right? So oftentimes, if you want to break out of this, it's about getting out of your own way. I'm sure you have heard other people say this as well. But maybe you hear it and intellectually you think to yourself, I just got to get out of my own way. But it's an intellectual understanding of what it means to get out of your own way. But the question then becomes, how do we get out of our own way? And sometimes, just like Newton's first law of motion, sometimes we're that object in motion and we continue in that pattern of motion unless we are acted upon by an external force. So the external force here is that if you are caught in this and you want to take your life to the next level, you want real and lasting change, and if you are serious about this and you want to work with a coach to help you to manage that symptom, to break out of that habit and to break into new habits, new levels of performance so that you can perform your best and achieve the promotion, to achieve that executive position, to achieve greater levels of income in your career. If you're serious about this, then I invite you to apply. There's a link below this video to apply to receive professional coaching from me. This is executive level coaching. It's not for beginners. So it's not for you if you are a student or if you're currently unemployed and you're looking for a job. This is for you if you are an established professional and you want to take your life to the next level. If that is you and you're serious, then I invite you to click the link below, apply to see if you qualify, and I hope to be working with you, and I'll see you on the inside. So now, for the remainder of this video, what I want to share with you is my process. It's a very simple step-by-step process on how you can manage the overthinking habit, how you can stop overthinking and overanalyzing. 5-step process on how you can overcome and stop the habit of overthinking and analyzing. Step number 1, identify the false belief pattern. Earlier, I mentioned 3 beliefs that are really the underlying root cause, the reason why people tend to have this habit of overthinking. So identify which belief pattern do you subscribe to? Is it one of them? Is it all 3 of them? So identify the false belief pattern. Step number 2, identify the consequences of holding on to these beliefs. Maybe you believe that when you're overthinking and when you're asking all the what if questions, maybe you believe, for example, that you're being prudent. So then this is where you identify the consequences. What are the consequences of asking all those what if questions? What are the consequences of ruminating on the past? Identify the real consequences of holding those belief patterns. What does it cost you in your life, your career, your relationships, your health, your finances? What does it cost you in those arenas of your life? Step number 3, take control of your emotions. Chances are, if you're overthinking, there's some sort of anxiety, right, that comes from stress over thinking about the future, the consequences, right? Because you're thinking about what if, all the different scenarios. There's some sort of anxiety that you are imagining about the possible outcomes that could be undesirable outcomes. What are the emotions you're having as a result of that? Outside of anxiety, what is it that you feel? Manage and take control of those emotions. Take control of those emotions. Step number 4, take charge of the life you desire. Take charge of it. So that will require you, the prerequisite for doing this is to know what is the life you desire, right? So step number 3 is take control of your emotions. Step number 4 is take charge of the life you desire. And step number 5, take action to equip yourself with the right tools. Take action to equip yourself with the right tools. So many adults do not have the tools, the right tools to manage this, to handle their habits, to develop better habits, to end unhelpful habits. So many adults go through life, they go through their career without the right tools. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're an established career professional and you're serious about getting professional coaching to give you the right tools, then I invite you to apply to my program. There's a link below, an application form for you to fill out. And if you qualify, then we'll reach out to you and you can have an opportunity to have my coaching, my personalized coaching to help you take your career and your life to the next level. So I hope to see you on the inside. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel, ring that bell, and I look forward to hanging out with you in my next video.